Welcome to day 11 of the Radio Free Skaro Fluid Links Advent Calendar. Today's question is from Diane Waller. Diane Waller 16 on Twitter. She asks, each showrunner has their own vision for the show. How would each new Who Doctor be different if their tenures had been produced by the other two showrunners rather than the showrunner they originally had, i.e., 9 and 10 under Moffat and Chibnall and so on? Ooh.
This could be a 20-minute answer.
Could be a long one. Yeah, what do you got there, Warren? You got something queued up
let's
there?
see. Not quite
okay.
yet.
All right.
But I don't think Capaldi and Chibnall, that's oil and water right there. I don't think that would work. You need an acerbic Moffat. You could RTD could do it, but it wouldn't be the same. Moffat and Capaldi are kind of like perfect because you got a cranky Scott and a cranky Scott.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
So it's hard to see that as any other pairing of showrunner and doctor. Smith could easily fit in the RTD era and probably the Chibnall era.
Well, Tennant having worked under Chibnall on Broadchurch.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could.
Yeah, Tennant's a chameleon. I think Tennant could do any of them, frankly.
You're probably right. I would say you could look at Broadchurch as a basis for how he would be under Chibnall, but I mean, obviously, it's a different character, a different role, whatever. Man, I don't know. Could you imagine how much softer around the edges Capaldi probably would have been under RTD?
Oh my God!
Or under Chibnall too, as well. I think it's just RTD.
Yeah, Stephen Moffat has a certain bitter Scotsman flavor to his personality that, as you say, Chris, just matched with Peter Capaldi. I have a hard time thinking.
You also have to kind of take in the time it was being made. The last thing they would do is get an old cranky doctor when it's starting again, because they'd already done that. It would be like, well, it's more of the same, right? Yeah, it's Peter Capaldi, but at the time, that wouldn't have made a difference, right?
Mm-hmm. I just think that there's I feel like the Chibnall era almost like there's no time for dramatic pauses. Maybe because we just watched Flux. But I'm thinking Capaldi's speeches, he is a master of the dramatic pause, and he knows his own rhythm. This is my pause. Do not edit this out. Do not edit my pause out. This is my dramatic pause. And I feel like that would probably just be completely chopped up in the Chibnall era. So most of his dramatic moments would be kind of curtailed. Yeah, I agree. I think that it wouldn't just be it'd be a blurry edge, I think, to Capaldi's Doctor under Chibnall.
Full on gradient.
Definite gradient.
I could see Eccleston working fine with Chibnall. I don't know why. I just do. So.
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't. It's weird how Moffat and Capaldi are the only two that I can sort of see only going together as a duo.
Smith and Moffat had a very distinct dynamic.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As well. And
he's a vessel for Moffat's wit, basically. So,
yeah.
And as Tennant was for RTDs, to be fair. I mean,
and when Smith was cast, he was not who Moffat, etc., had in mind.
No,
he just blew them away.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if under a different showrunner at the time, Smith either might have gotten overlooked or just even hiring a 27-year-old doctor or whatever age he was at the time would have just not happened.
Probably, you know what? Given it was David Tennant he was replacing, and this young sort of enthusiastic, young, pretty person, that I think pretty much Stephen Moffat had in mind, probably Peter Capaldi to take over from, or someone very much like him. And then, as you say, Matt Smith came in and blew him away. You're right. Since Moffat wasn't especially looking for someone like David Tennant, this is maybe why Matt Smith blew them away so much, because, oh my God, he's a young person, but he's also sort of he's very out of sorts, and he doesn't behave he behaves like a puppy, like an old puppy, essentially. His great,
like they said, is an old man or a young man designed by old men.
Yeah, exactly. From memory. So I don't think Matt Smith would have ever got cast if it was RTD or Chibnall looking for that same type of doctor. The fact that they weren't looking for him is why he blew them away so much. And then conversely, Man, do you think would RTD ever cast an old person as the Doctor? And
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially straight after that super young one.
yeah,
I could totally see him casting Jodie. That wouldn't surprise me at all if
No.
he cast Jodie Whittaker or a woman. But not to reduce her to just be. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I can't see him being against it as a thing to do.
Yeah, no. If the timings were reversed, and let's say we had Moffat first and RTD after, I would think that he would probably have a tendency to go for somebody like Chibnall did with Whittaker.
Yeah.
He would have a tendency to go for somebody he knows, and trusts, and
James Nesbitt would have been the ninth Doctor, probably.
I mean, he was an okay Doctor.
Yeah,
I mean, Nesbitt was in whatchamacallit for Moffat.
Jekyll.
Jekyll or
Yeah.
whatever
Jekyll,
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm talking who RTD would cast.
As his post Moffat, I understand. Yeah.
Post, yeah. So if
Probably
Moffat,
Tennant. Probably still Tennant. Let's face it, he would have still been.
well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't
But I
fuel the tenants coming back ardor, which I'm sure is there waiting for next year.
Pretty sure he's not.
Because Eccleston, at least in part, was known because of Second Coming,
Yeah.
and it's pretty much on the public record that Casanova was Tennant's audition
Uh-huh.
for the Doctor. So I'm trying to think of like what else. Like I don't know,
I'm kind of amazed that given
guy from
and,
Bob and Rose, maybe.
Right.
this is not the best metric of anything, but Queer as Folk was up to that time probably RTD's biggest success. I
Oh,
would think.
huge. Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And why didn't he cast anybody from that?
Well, there's the guy from.
Game of Thrones.
I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I
No.
don't know the character, but there's the guy that was in Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
who was in Queer as
Oh,
Folk.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Dark
remember
hair,
who that was.
somewhat tall, super skinny.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would
I can
recognize
look
him
up.
more. I can't tell you the name of the character because I've forgotten everyone who was in Game of Thrones. But
And I've forgotten everybody was in Queer as Folk, but yeah, it's just like it was such a big deal. You'd think there'd be more crossover, but
yeah.
I guess not.
Yeah, oddly enough, there wasn't. He mentions Doctor Who a lot in it, and yet the actors themselves seldom cross. Which is funny because, when you think, oh, well, obviously Russell T Davies chose Eccleston and Tennant because he worked with both of them relatively recently before making Doctor Who. And now, of course, because of that, 15 years on, we're all expecting, well, let's look at the cast list of years and years and it's a sin and see which of these actors
Fans,
are going to be. Yeah.
ourselves included, have no imagination whatsoever.
None.
Which is I've never understood. It's like we like sci-fi and fantasy and horror because it gives us the imagination we lack.
Yep.
And other people lack imagination too. They just aren't bothered by it like we are.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I can only see Capaldi. I mean, it would be fascinating to think. I suppose these multi-Doctor episodes, and indeed the like Day of the Doctor was interesting because here we're seeing. I know that Moffat obviously wrote for David Tennant's Doctor a couple times in RTD's era, but was never the showrunner, and so Day of the Doctor is fascinating because it's like you're basically kind of like welcoming an old president into the White House. It's like, sit in the chair, see what it feels like, like
Not yours anymore. Just under that.
Just it's not yours, but you did sit in the woods. And how does it feel? And then also that Sarah Jane Adventures episode where Matt Smith is on. And it's like, that felt even weirder, but it's because this is Matt Smith's Doctor playing in Russell T Davies' universe. And it just felt very strange.
Who puts more thought into this than
Yeah.
besides the questioner and themselves? The person who puts the most thought into this is us. I don't think probably RTD or Moffat put that much thought into it.
The person I'm thinking of, for whatever it's worth, is Aidan Gillen, who played
Gillen.
Littlefinger.
Yep.
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's him. Maybe he'll be the next Doctor. No one's ever
He'd make
thinking
a
of
hell
him.
of a Doctor.
He'd be a good Doctor. Also a bit of a bastard.